Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey.
And this is Jeff Davis sitting in this week for Jeannie Pete. And our guest now is Nancy Burnham from Lilburn, Georgia. Nancy, I saw an article about you in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. By the way, has there been a lot of reaction to the article?
This most recent one, no, but when the article was run in 2013, I did have a lady who called me from West Palm Beach, Florida, where the article had picked up, and we had a lovely conversation about it. She was actually seeking my help, and I'm always glad to put my message out. Always glad.
Your journey to fitness began at age 61, if you
Yes.
don't mind me saying. That's about 7 years ago.
Yes.
You told me in advance that I could say that, so always got to be careful, you know. So what made you at age 61 begin this journey toward fitness?
At age 60, I retired from federal service, and it had been a very long 26 years. As you know, the age of computers had enormous strides, and I sat behind a computer a great deal of the day. I had a lot of stress. I worked 60 hours a week or more, and
Probably a great employee.
My health had declined significantly. A year prior to my retirement, I found out that I had prolapsing heart valves, two of those, the mitral and tricuspid valves. I was at low-level COPD because I also had asthma. I was taking medications for anxiety and depression, and I had high cholesterol. Thank you, family inheritance. I just felt awful. I was tired all the time. I didn't sleep well at night. And so when I retired, I thought, oh, this is going to be so much better, so much better. But what I did not know was that I was arthritic from head to toe, literally. I had low back pain most of the time. And then as I retired, and I thought, this has got to get better. You know, I'm retired, for Pete's sake. This has got to get better. And it didn't. And then I began to have bursitis in my shoulder, and that pain crept up to my neck. So I went to the orthopedist, and he sent me to physical therapy. And after 6 weeks, my insurance company said, we will no longer pay for physical therapy for a quote-unquote pain in the neck. So I thought, this is wrong. Something has to be done here. And I came to the realization that I am the only person who can decide what my state of health and well-being will be. That's my decision. It doesn't belong to a doctor. It doesn't belong to an insurance company. And now it doesn't belong to Medicare. But I had a little shopping center right down the street from the house with a newly opened fitness center. And I was going in one day, and I thought, I really ought to check out the gym. But I didn't. And I repeated this process until one day I turned in, and I said, this is the day I'm going to change my life. And instead of making a left turn and going to Publix, I made a right turn and went to the gym. I walked in and I said, show me what you've got. I've never been in a gym before, and I know I'm going to need help, but I'm going to get started.
Wow. Keep going.
So he showed me around, and I thought, okay, this isn't too bad. And I said, I'll need help. I need a personal trainer. And the gentleman took his paperwork out, began to fill it out, and he said, okay, I'm going to assign you to Dr. Pruney. I didn't know Dr. Pruney. I didn't have any clue what he is. I'm like, doctor? A doctor in a gym? But 2 days later, he gave me a call, set up my sessions, and I went in, introduced myself, and he said, okay, let's get some background information, which all good personal trainers do. You need to know what kind of body you're working with as well as the personality. And I said, well, I have high blood pressure, I have high cholesterol, I'm overweight, and he's taking all these notes down. And he says, I think we can help you. So it was my very good fortune that Dr. Pruney was not only a chiropractor, but he was a certified personal trainer, and he had all the knowledge that someone working with an older adult needed. And I started with 3 sessions a week, and I would come in the sessions in between and do my hour's worth of time, 15 minutes of warm-up, 30 minutes of real hard work, and 15 minutes of cool-down, 1 hour. And within a year, I was off of all of my medications, including the asthma medication. And I just felt like I was on top of the world. I had lost 30 pounds, and the world was a much happier place. I can tell you honestly, to this day, I have not had another day of chronic back pain.
Wow. How did you lose the weight? You must have had some kind of a diet regimen as well, though. Huh?
All fitness includes a good nutritional plan along with the exercise.
It's not complete without that, is it?
One is not complete without the other. Absolutely not. And I find, to my surprise sometimes, the amount of education that's required with older adults as to what good nutrition is, how your body works with that nutrition that you give it, and what happens when you don't. Any bodybuilder will tell you that they're taking enormous amounts of protein into their body. They're making sure that they get all the micronutrients to process all of that protein. And learning about good nutrition is part of being a good certified personal trainer. You have to know your body. You have to learn when your body is moving, how it's moving, and why it's moving. And that's one of the reasons that I added Pilates to my my toolbox, tools that I work with older adults.
I think of the body as like a machine, it's an engine. If you don't maintain it properly, I don't care how well it's made, it's going to fall apart.
Absolutely. I tell my clients, you don't expect your car to run without gasoline in the tank. You also have to have oil for all those pistons to work and those parts to be lubricated. The same is true with your diet. You have to have carbs, you have to have protein, and you have to have a little bit of oil in that machine. Otherwise, it can't run. Your body works when you don't think it is. When you're sleeping at night, it's doing a large amount of repair, system regeneration. So sleep is an essential part of good health as well.
So I want to update our audience. We're talking with Nancy Burnham. Nancy is a fitness trainer, a Pilates instructor, and you work with folks who are in what I like to say, I say it kind of tongue-in-cheek, they're in their golden years, It's like you said, several years ago, you said, I'm retired. I should be enjoying myself, Instead, yes. I got bursitis, and I got arthritis, and mitral valve prolapse, and all this kind of stuff. So what special challenges do you face, Nancy Burnham, when you're working with people in their 60s and 70s rather than these, young, beautiful 25-year-olds?
Oh, those gorgeous dolls that you like to see. Everybody has their own little unique challenge, whether it be a knee replacement or a hip replacement or fibromyalgia or this shoulder is a little higher than the other one because I fell on it one time. Well, did you have any surgery? No, I just let it heal on its own. So, they have restrictions where through the ages their body has not been well maintained, and that's going to happen to all of us. The body starts a natural degeneration process as we age. We can change that. We can change that. And I say that because it happened with me. I know what my body does. My doctors tell me, whatever you do, I want you to teach everybody in my practice to do this.
You sound like it's a religious thing almost. You're an evangelist
now. It's a lifestyle. Yes, I'm on my soapbox. I admit to
preaching
that.
Preaching the word.
But life, I plan to dance at my grandson's weddings. And one is 16 and one is 10, so you can see how long I plan to live. But no, I really do know, and I really do believe you have to want to change your life. It becomes a lifestyle. Yes, it has to be a lifestyle change. And the older we get, the less likely we are to change a lifestyle.
Sure.
But you just have to wade into the water far enough to get that feeling that it can happen.
So do you have to have the patience of Job when you're working with these older folks?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. You can actually approach them. At least I can. I can approach them on their level. I can have empathy with them because I know what it's like to have a bad knee. I've had knee surgery. Didn't want it, but I had to have it. But I overcame it. Took me longer than I expected, longer than I wanted, but I did it. Everybody has that one place that you can meet them on their level.
Really?
They can understand. And as one of my clients says, I understand those old bones. I have those old bones.
Mm-hmm.
I have worked through 2 broken ankles. and you can find that one little niche where you can communicate well.
The guest that we had in the last segment was a gentleman named Randy Nicholson, and he owns a studio in Sandy Springs called Fitness Firm, and he works with older folks. There's a great article about Randy and his studio in the AJC a couple of weeks ago. You were actually quoted in that. You were mentioned in that article as well. One of the things that Randy and I talked about was the balance problems that a lot of older folks have, and I think it's huge. And the reason that I say that is because, boy, I'll tell you what, you lose your balance, it could be the last time you ever walk.
Absolutely.
And I see these people walking with a cane or walking with a walker, and they're barely able to, they look like, a strong wind comes along, it's going to knock them over.
Yes.
How do you handle balance problems how do you help these people get through these balance problems?
Most of the time when a person has a balance problem, if in my case it's not vertigo, which I do have, benign positional vertigo.
You do?
I do. And I have overcome it. There is a body structure that has been misaligned. Most people don't learn how to stand up straight. But again, if you have an arthritic hip or if you've had a hip replacement and your balance has gone off, we find that we have tilted maybe a little bit forward. We're looking down at where we're going instead of looking up at where we're going. I take each individual's posture first. I examine their body, how they're standing. Am I leaning more on one foot than I am on the other foot? Where is the misalignment? How are you holding your head? Do you look straight or are you looking down? All of these things affect balance, and we start with correcting the structure of the body and how it has become misaligned. Good posture is always important.
How often do you meet with your clients generally?
That depends on them. Most of them come in and train with me 2 times a week.
And that's all that they need, huh? You can get them started and get them on the way to...
I can get them started, but another of my personal philosophies is I always give them homework. I teach them exercises that they can do anywhere they are, whether it's toes or arms or shoulders or back stretching. Always a move you can make.
Can you tell if they've been practicing? They're behaving themselves?
Yes, I can.
They can't fool you?
No, because they know Grandma's going to test them on it when they come back.
You showed me a video, I think it's on your Facebook page as well,
yeah.
Nancy Burnham, this is from about a year ago, of you lifting 200 pounds, I think it was, on a barbell. Deadlift. Wow. Mm-hmm. How much can you do you bench press?
I don't do.
You're probably going to make me sick when I hear some of these numbers that you've achieved.
No. I don't do as much lifting now as I did, but lifting is only one phase of good fitness, and I try to do everything. As you age, being flexible is an important part of having good muscle tone. Lifting will help you build that muscle. It will help you strengthen your bones. And both of those are very important. So the amount of weight that I lift is not as important as actually doing the lifting itself.
Sure. Is it different when you're training a man, let's say, than a woman? Are there differences between the two? Different interests in the two?
It's not so much different interests, but it's more of a personality. When I'm working with a client, it's someone that I have interviewed and they have interviewed me. If you can't work together and communicate, you don't train, whether it's a man, a woman, or a teenager, or a child. You have to have that common bond between you. You're going to teach me, and you're going to teach me proper, and I'm going to listen, and I'm going to learn and do my best. So sometimes men have ego issues about training with an older woman and whether she can lift more than he can. We don't get to that. We don't try that. We focus on the form. Focus on the form.
Do you work with groups?
I'm more than happy to work with groups. I have done that a little bit in the past. Right now, I'm not, but I'd be more than happy to do that.
Now, you're also, in addition to being a fitness trainer, Nancy Burnham, you're a Pilates instructor out there in Lilburn. Mm-hmm. Tell us about Pilates. What I've heard a lot about Pilates. I think I've seen a couple of things, but I don't really know much about Pilates. What's the philosophy behind Pilates?
Pilates was created by Joseph Pilates after World War II, when many soldiers came back and were in need of rehab from their injuries in the war. He was a chiropractor. He started in New York, and he was situated right next door to a ballet school. The ballet instructor came over one day and observed these wonderful movements that lengthen and strengthen, give flexibility to the muscles. And
flexibility is so important, too.
Flexibility is critical. It is absolutely critical. And so dancers, Pilates is most known for dancers, but it is a basic series of about 350 movements that can be modified for bodies and for strength. And it's a marvelous, marvelous type of exercise. No joint pressure. We focus on the spine, we focus on alignment, and no pounding of the joints.
Now, you've also become, and this has been several years now, you're certified with the American Council on Exercise, ACE. Yes. So what does that entail to become certified?
To become a certified personal trainer requires that you study the material of anatomy, diet, nutrition, and all of the basic forms of movements to exercise, being able to make assessments of individuals. Then you take an examination, and that examination has been reviewed by a national organization for accreditation. And if you pass, you get that title certified. There are many personal trainers out there who are not certified. If you want a good certified personal trainer, you just go online. The American Council on Exercise, IdeaFit, National Academy, Sports Medicine, any number of organizations keeps ongoing list of all of those certified trainers. We are also required to have continuing education every year. And we stay up to date. So.
That's what I like about certification from ACE. You adhere to certain standards.
Absolutely.
You've achieved certain standards, and I think that's very important instead of just, guesswork.
Yes.
Yes. you work out of a CrossFit gym
Yes.
in Lilburn. Where is that gym? We're almost out of time, so let's give some contact info here.
Okay, we are at the intersection of Beaver Ruin Road and Lawrenceville Highway in the Beaver Ruin Village Shopping Center, around back. It's not in the front. It's around back behind the Kroger loading dock.
So don't get nervous if you don't see it.
If you don't see it, just give us a call. 678-671-3539 is the gym number, yes.
Most of your clients are in their 60s, and a few of them are in their 70s.
Yes.
It's never too late, is it?
It is absolutely never too late. You start wherever you are. Heck, I couldn't even turn on the treadmill to walk on it. But you just take the first step. You believe in yourself. You can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's been a second career for you.
Yes.
And you had one career for a long time. You were very sedentary, working for the government. Now you're doing something entirely different.
Yes.
And you're in business for yourself.
Yes.
And is it not tremendously fulfilling for you?
It's very fulfilling. Absolutely. My mission is to encourage anyone, no matter what issues you have to address, just get out there and make an effort to move. And I'm more than willing to talk to anybody. My cell phone number is 770-289-8883. Just give me a call and I will share with you and you can share with me. If you're not going to train with me, that's okay, but make an effort. Believe in yourself.
I'm going to give this phone number again before we part company, Nancy Burnham, but they can also go to your Facebook page.
Yes.
It's Nancy Burnham, Lilburn, Georgia.
I have a Facebook page, Functional Fitness for Seniors, and my company name is Simple Fitness for Seniors. And yes.
Simple Fitness for Seniors.
Yes.
And also your Facebook page,
Yes.
Nancy Burnham, Burnham.
Right.
Nancy Burnham, 770-289-8883. 770-289-8883. And I guess the lesson here, folks, is that it's never too late.
Never.
And you're a living example of it. Nancy Burnham, you look wonderful. You keep talking about how old you are. No, you look phenomenal.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on with us today, Nancy.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey.
So Randy Nicholson, with the baby boomers getting older and older, and more and more of them becoming seniors, it's a big population.
Yeah.
It seems only normal that people would get into what you're into, which is a specialty of working with people of a certain age. How did you get into it, Randy Nicholson?
Well, it's grown into that. I've been in the martial arts for almost 30 years and started working with teaching that, and just have progressively grown into realizing people quit moving as they get older, and as they get older and quit moving, they get stiffer and stiffer. So therefore they start losing the ability to, get up and down, do day-to-day function. So throughout the type training I've realized that. So it's kind of grown into where I've been training so long that my clients have gotten older with me, and so their friends are like, oh, how come I can't move around as well as this person does? It's been working out with me for years. So that's kind of how it's kind of gotten into this. And I have a client that came to me from another trainer, actually, because she was having back pain every time she was working out. First one thing, another. And
something about the back.
Yeah,
it's. And boy, I'll tell you what, if your back goes out too, you're just miserable.
It is. When you have back pain, it's the worst thing. And
to me, the back and the wheels.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, the knees and stuff, and the ankles. I actually, when I was 25, I was probably the best shape of my life. I was top athlete at that time, and I wound up having back problems, and it wound up being like a bulging disc. So that's always kind of given me...
At 25?
At 25, and for 2 years, I was suffering with back pain.
You said you were an athlete. What kind of athlete were you?
I was a karate fighter. So
you said martial arts.
Right. So I did I did some kickboxing. I did a lot of like karate fighting and stuff. You know, that used to be big with the Battle of Atlanta here in Atlanta. You know, and stuff. So
now we have cage fighting.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a different thing with this mixed martial arts.
You know, when you're young and you're getting your head smashed and it doesn't seem to bother you, but you know something, I think you're going to pay for it later.
Yeah, it does. I've suffered. I've probably had 10 concussions, and I retired back in 2003 from any kind of fighting, and I've taken up mountain biking. And so for the last 15 years, I've been racing mountain bikes.
Which has its own hazards, by the way.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, I traded one for the other. I don't know.
Are you one of those guys that rides a bicycle out on the streets, too?
No, I gave that up.
Because, you know, those guys, look, I admire them. They look great. But sometimes when they start taking up the better part of 2 lanes, it's just a little scary for the people in cars.
It's especially here in Atlanta. I gave up road biking 3 years ago. I was like, you know what? I got hit on my bike, and luckily I didn't get hurt. Just, crazy situation. But I said, you know what? I've got 5 kids and a wife. I need to think about it a little more. So all I do is mountain bike, and if I'm on the road at all, I'm on the sidewalk, which, you know, can or cannot be safe. I don't know. It's kind of iffy. So
how is it different for people? Let's say you're talking about people of what age, Randy, that you work with over at your place?
Well, I've got anywhere
Fitness Firm Studio.
Right, Fitness Firm Studio in Sandy Springs. I work from, as the youngest client I have right now is 9. And she's a little soccer player, so, you know, we're just working on getting her motor skills going.
Sounds like fun, by the way.
Yeah. And the oldest that I have is 87. And he actually has to be the caretaker for his wife. She's kind of struggling with her health right now. And so he realized that, okay, he needs to be stronger to be able to help her get around and everything like that. So we've been working on getting his leg strength up and stuff. And, you know, it doesn't take a whole lot when you're, you know, at that age to really get a lot accomplished. I mean, a little bit of improvement is a lot because these, you know, they're used to only be able to do a certain amount of things. So if you can get them to move outside the box, and when I say the box, you know, the box is our normal thing that we do. Like most people sit in a car or sit at a cubicle or at a computer, and that's their box. So you got to get out of that, you know.
I think the other day there was like a national don't sit day or something like that. I don't know if you heard about that. Yeah, move around and don't sit, because we're very sedentary.
Very much.
Most of us. You know?
And we don't realize, especially in a city like Atlanta, how much time we spend in the car. So, I mean, a lot of people spend upwards of 2 hours of commuting every day and then go sit at a desk or on an airplane or something for 6-8 hours a day. And they just don't realize how much that catches up to them.
It just seems like we're made to walk. The way we're built, the way the good Lord put us together.
Exactly.
We should be moving.
Exactly. I mean, the body is made to move. I don't care if it gets, when you're hurt, it automatically wants to start moving again, even though you're hurt. You know, so the worst thing you can do, in my opinion, is when you start having some sort of injury is where you just lay off and don't do anything. So, as crazy as that sounds sometimes.
So I know you've got an 8-year-old
I've got
client.
8-year-old client.
And an 87-year-old client. But what would you say is your wheelhouse, Randy?
My wheelhouse is in between that 40 to 65. That's the biggest majority I have. Those people at 40, you know, you get 38, 39, you start, I'm about to turn 40, and I'm not able to do the things I used to do. And so doing all the higher activity things where, let's say CrossFit, you know, CrossFit's so big now, and a lot of these little, I think Orange Theory and stuff like that are pretty big now, are very high intensity and a lot of compound movements, which I enjoy that, but people have to realize what they can and can't do. You can't just go off of a sofa that you haven't been training for, you haven't been doing any kind of activity for 2 or 3 years and go right into those things. Mm-hmm. You got to progress into that. It's like acquiring a taste for it. And most people in their 40s have, been having kids and working, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, I realize I'm getting a little heavier, this, that, and the other. And they start trying to work out. And
don't we naturally gain like 10 pounds every decade or something crazy?
I think that's the average. So, and then they realize, oh, I got to start working out, and they just tend to try to get it back too fast instead of just taking their time and dealing with it.
You're speaking to the choir here. You're preaching to the saved here. But I know what you mean, because if you try to do too much too fast, among other things, I think you get discouraged too.
Exactly. You can get defeated.
Yeah, I mean, I saw these two guys. One guy was really chiseled, and the other guy was not at all.
Yeah.
And the guy who was not at all said to the guy who was chiseled, he said, "I don't understand. I'm not making any progress." And the guy said to him, the chiseled guy said to him, "How long you been doing this?" He said, "This is my third week, and I don't see a thing." And he said to the chiseled guy, "How long you been doing it?" And he says, 24 years.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the thing in martial arts. Everybody's like, well, when am I going to be a black belt? And I'm like, don't worry about when you're getting your belt. It's like, enjoy the journey. So it's all about the journey. So from day one till the end of it, it's like, just enjoy that and just take everything as every little achievement as a goal, or, as an advancement. So,
do you consider this to be sort of a calling for you, Randy Nicholson?
I do. I really do. Because I was in a total different, wasn't ever thinking about doing this type stuff, and then got into it. I wouldn't say by chance. I've always been an athlete and been doing things, but I never thought that it would turn into a career or a business, So, I've been in business for almost 18 years with the fitness firm, and I have a family of 7, and I'm able to support that family and, with doing this type of business.
Well, maybe this is a good segue to the question I was going to ask you, and that's about your background. I know you're originally from Dalton, Georgia.
Yep.
Randy Nicholson, can you take us from there?
Well, I went to college at Chattanooga State for a little while, and did first one thing another. And then Dalton's such a big carpet town. I grew up working in all the carpet mills. I've done everything to do with that, and I've always been very mechanical. Which, if you think about the body, it's a piece of machine, and that's the way I look at it. So I look at how one muscle connects to the other and how it makes a joint move. And so a lot of times people think, oh, I've got a knee pain. Well, there's something wrong with their knee. And the way I look at it is, okay, well, there's a muscle that's tight that probably has a trigger point, which a trigger point is just a knot that can get in the muscle because a nerve is twisted in some muscle fiber. And that can start putting pressure on a joint and causing pain. And you literally can release that trigger point and that pain will go away. And so I do a lot of that with my clients, and it's called active release therapy, and that's kind of a big thing that a lot of athletes have gotten into in the last 6-10 years. So,
yeah, it's amazing. They say like 60 is the new 40 and all that kind of. And I do believe that because years ago when I used to work out at a gym, I have equipment at my house now, so I do it at home. But I used to work out at a gym, and I used to see guys who were upwards of 70 years of age, and they were in shape. Yeah. I mean, we're talking horses here. These are big, strong dudes. They weren't, I remember when my grandfather was 68, and he was like what I think of an 88-year-old today.
Right. Well, that's, exactly. I mean, you'll see some people that are not even 40 yet that have kind of given up, and I'm like, I'm about to turn 50 next week, and I still feel like I'm 25. I mean, and I never really wake up like in pain or anything, It's kind of like you hear a lot of people, oh, I wake up, I'm always hurting. And again, I've had tons of injuries throughout my career. I just had an ankle replacement a year and a half ago, a total ankle replacement, and I feel like like there was never anything wrong with me. So, advancements in technology like that are great.
Some of it up here, in the head.
I think
attitude, all that kind of stuff.
We kind of get into that mindset of, oh, I'm hurting and there's nothing I can do about it. And instead of taking an active role and starting to do something, whether it's working out or just getting into some sort of fitness. But again, doing that, you have to be really careful because there's so many things out there, and there's so many professionals, in the fitness industry. But a lot of people, let's say you went to a trainer at a typical gym or whatever, and you're picking that trainer because of what he looks like. Mm-hmm. Oh, that dude's he's big and strong looking, right? So he must know what he's doing. Well, most of the time, what they're doing isn't necessarily what you need to be doing, because you're down here, and they've been doing this stuff for, like you said, 25 years with this one guy, and they want to take you to there right off the bat. Well, you got to just... From
one level way up to the next level.
Just staying at that low level for a month is where you need to stay and let your body get accustomed to moving again.
Let me ask you this.
Through all the things.
Randy Nicholson from Fitness Firm in Sandy Springs, and you specialize in people who are 40 and over. And I do mean over. One client who's 87 years of age. For some of them, I think the challenge is trying to stay out of a wheelchair at some point because, and this article that was in the AJC about you is a great article, by the way. It's a couple of weeks ago. And, it said that this lady, Linda Steger, who works out at your gym, that a lot of her friends are having balance problems. Can you speak to that for a second, please? Because I know it's huge.
Yeah, it's and since this article's come out, my phone's been ringing off the hook, and I'm getting a lot more 70 and 80-year-olds. And everything is about balance with them, and that's most of their concern is like, well, I'm feeling unstable, walking, first one thing and another. All right, well, balance, it's all about nervous system, and then also it becomes a mental state, to where, if I'm a little off balance, well, the first thing I think about is falling. And so you have to get this person comfortable with being around you and comfortable in their surroundings and have them start to do exercises where they don't get scared of falling. Okay, and a lot of times it's just...
That's huge.
Maybe if they're just touching something that makes them feel a little more stable.
Right.
And over a period of time, what I try to do is, the reason why people get like this is they quit squatting. And when I say squatting, I don't mean with a bar on your back or stuff like that. I'm talking about just raising and lowering, getting up and down off the floor. I mean, you think about, like, this one lady I had today is like, when's the last time you got up and down the floor? I never do that. I'm like, well, that's part of our problem. Now, granted, I'm not just going to expect her to get down and get back up. We're going to go through a process of doing that. But then she's going to get to where an everyday process is getting up and down off the floor so that then when she sits in the chair or he sits in the chair, they don't have to worry about, I can't get up, type thing.
You have to be patient, though, don't you?
Oh, it's
your particular, more so than if you're working with somebody 25,
Right, but it's so rewarding to see that little bit of an improvement. And it doesn't take much, but also I see myself. I'm like, okay, I'm not getting to that point ever. If there's any way to help it, and as long as I stay active, I don't see that problem being a problem.
What about, I see people walking with canes,
Right.
see people walking with walkers, and I understand that.
Yeah.
They don't want to fall, like you said, because falling is a cause of a lot of problems for a lot of these folks. They break their hip, they crack their head open, all these kinds of things. But again, tell me if I'm wrong, I kind of feel like if they're walking with a cane or walking with a walker, then the cane and the walker are kind of doing the balancing instead of their own brain.
Yeah, and that becomes that safety net.
It's counterproductive in a way.
Exactly. I think so as well. So instead of going, and that's the thing is most, let's take a doctor, for instance. Doctors their main thing is like, okay, let's settle this problem right here. Now, how I can settle it, I'm going to settle it. Now, if I tell you, well, just start walking with a cane, well, I'm not looking ahead as to what that's going to do. I'm just settling that problem right then. So 6-8 weeks down the road, he or she's using the cane. Well, now they need a walker because it's just progressively gotten worse.
I've seen them where they start with a simple cane, then they go to a cane that's got like 4 prongs on it at the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's more
then it's
and more.
Walker, and then it's a wheelchair, and then it's just sedentary. Period. You got to have somebody else doing, and that's that's where the end of life starts. I mean, to me, once you get to where you can't move, you're done.
So what percentage of the people, in these older years have balance problems, in your opinion?
So I've gotten 6 new people in the last couple of weeks that I've been able to get in to do an assessment on them. And so what I do is I have them come in, and again, I'm assessing them. I'm assessing their situation, and then I'm going to assess the amount of range of motion they have and everything. So every one of them has been a little bit sketchy on the balance issue. So 100% of the last 10 I've gotten, let's say.
So let me ask you this, because like you said, it's coming out of the box.
Yeah.
We're making these people get out of the box, come out of the box.
Right.
Is it hard to get them to stay with it? To me, with any exercise program, there's always jokes about people that get a treadmill, a month later they're hanging clothes on it.
I think it is for a lot of reasons. I really don't have a big turnover rate at all. And again, I think it's so much about the person. Like, I'm very, very understanding. The studio that I have is very inviting. And
Where is the studio in Sandy Springs?
It's in Sandy Springs off Roswell Road at Hildebrand, which is in between Mount Vernon and Hammond.
I know exactly
so it's
what
just
it is.
a mile outside the perimeter.
I believe there's a McDonald's not far from there.
I think there's a few things right
Yeah.
there.
It's a sad commentary. I know where all the McDonald's
Right.
are, but
And I'll throw my good buddy Mike Wagnon at Peachtree Bikes. So I'm right next door to Peachtree Bikes.
okay, I know where you are.
So
It's very
Anyway.
conveniently located.
it is.
I mean, how many cars drive by that
It does.
location every day?
And that whole area is changing with the way they're redoing the city up there.
Okay, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Okay, I lost my train of thought.
No, so you're saying with the balance and the patience that you have.
Yeah, so the studio is very inviting. Everybody feels very comfortable when they come in, and it's just nobody's intimidated. It's not one of those things where you're going into a gym and you got to feel like you got to fit into what everybody else is doing. So I bring them in, and a lot of what we do is getting the muscle conditioned by using my active health roller. So most people's what I'll do is I'll start by rolling their calves out and their legs. Yeah, my
There's a
active
picture
health,
of it in the AJC article here from Wednesday, April 22.
Yeah, I came up with the roller, my active health roller, about 13 years ago, and at the time there was only one other product out like that, and also the foam roller. So a lot of the athletes now understand about myofascial release, and that helps you with recovery. So with these older people, their muscles have gotten almost turned into like beef jerky, so a muscle's really hard. It can't get blood flow through it. The nerves don't work as well. You can't get your lymphatic system working. So there's so many toxins in the muscle. And so what I try to do is I condition the muscle just by rolling it, and that starts getting the nerve stimulating. And so then the brain starts firing the muscles even better. So we do, maybe 10 to 15 minutes of that, and then we work out for a few minutes until, I get them a little winded and get them moving. So my whole goal is to get you to go down and up in a squat. So, and I've developed these little tools that I use to do that, and I'm working on an invention. I've got a prototype of it in my studio to put into older people's homes and maybe even old folks' homes or retirement communities. Let's be a little more PC there.
Yeah, community.
And, to teach them how to sit up and stand, and it's a progression that they can go through. So that's what I do. So I use my prototype that I have with them. And, they may start off sitting on the height of a stool, and then progressively they get down to the height of a toilet.
Really?
And
they can get up and down and up and down and up and down. How wonderful.
So that's the goal with each person that comes in, because a lot of times they may go, I've got knee pain or whatever, and I can take them through a range in motion and make them realize, the knee's not the problem, or the hip's not the problem.
It's the balance, maybe.
It's the balance, and it's the muscle not releasing and letting go. So your brain can't functionally let go of certain muscles to have you go through a squat because it stays engaged the whole time.
Right. Look, I don't guess you can really say this to them, but isn't it true that in many of these cases, it's do or die? Because if their balance gets worse, they're going to end up bedridden or in a wheelchair, or they're going to fall and crack their head on a pavement or something like that. I mean, they've got to improve their balance.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's so crucial to make them feel comfortable in what they're doing, or they're just going to walk away and go, okay, I can't do it. So I see that maybe sometimes I'm the last hope right there. So I'm so aware of that, and it's like my whole goal is to get them to where they can feel comfortable about it, because it's who everybody wants as a trainer or as a coach. You want that easy athlete to work with, so you take and you get this, it's a lot more challenging, but at the same time it's a lot more rewarding as well.
You said earlier that in the conventional situation, and they look at the trainer and they kind of want to be like that. I mean, I think, honestly, the appearance of the trainer is important to somebody.
It is. Yeah.
I once went to a weight loss place. I wanted to lose, 15 pounds, something like that. But the lady that was teaching me was herself overweight. And it made me lose confidence in her, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for you to look good. And you look great. You told me you're turning 50 this month.
Right.
And you look phenomenal. I got to tell you, you look like you in phenomenal shape there, Randy Nicholson.
Well, I appreciate it. It's an everyday task. It's like I try to do something every day. And like I said, I race mountain bikes. So yesterday I rode my mountain bike for 2 hours. Now that's hard to do when I've got 5 kids and a wife, and own my own business. So it's You just got to try to fit it in somehow.
I do it. I do my workout early in the morning. As soon as I get up, get it out of the way, get it done, I feel great. It's a great start to the day. One last question. How important is diet to this mix?
Diet is very important, but so many people put too much of an emphasis on that in the beginning, and they get caught up in that instead of like, let me stay consistent with the movement stuff. Now, there's a whole industry out there with the diet stuff, and again, if you just watch a couple things and you start working out, you're going to see the difference. And then as you get further into it, let's say you're in kindergarten when you start. Let's say by the time you get in the 3rd or 4th grade, that's when you start to really worry about what you're taking in. So don't worry about, how much weight am I going to lose right off the bat? Let me worry about how can I move and keep my balance more. It's not about the appearance so much in the beginning as it is, let me get some motion and some function.
We're out of time. I bet when you tell people what you do for a living at a party or something, it's a great conversation starter and asking you all kinds of questions.
Oh, yeah. Then they're like, well, why are you eating that cake? Oh, my God. Exactly.
All right. We're out of time. Randy Nicholson, the owner of the Fitness Firm Studio. Tell us the address again one more time, Randy Nicholson.
It's 209 Hildebrand Drive in Sandy Springs, Georgia.
So you're just outside the perimeter, maybe half a mile or so?
Oh, yeah, if that, yeah.
And what's the nearest cross street? Is it Hammond?
Hammond and Mount Vernon.
Mount Vernon, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a Lowe's near there, Boston Market.
Right there,
Is there still a Starbucks over there?
Starbucks is right on the corner from where I'm at.
I know exactly where
so there's so many people there. If you want to, you can look me up on Facebook, Fitness Firm Studio. And I've got a lot of stuff. Yeah,
or go on site. Go online, fitnessfirmstudio.com. Randy Nicholson. Thank you so much. I love what you're doing, and I wish you only the best.
Yeah, if anybody's curious at all, just give me a call or shoot me an email. I think you'd enjoy it. Thanks, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
I'm Jeannie Pete. Thanks for listening. Have a blessed day and week ahead, and listen here same time next week and every week. Homestead Hope Foundation is your resource for a healthy life. God bless.